Mohandas Karamchand Ghandi, popularly known as Mahatma Ghandi, was an Indian political and public figure, a prominent leader of Indian nationalism and prophet of non-violence in the 20th century. Born on October 2, 1869 in Porbanda, India, he was the youngest child of the fourth wife of his father, Karamchand Ghandi, who was the Dewan, chief minister of Porbanda. His mother, Putilab, was completely religious. Mohandas was brought up in a home steeped in Vaishnavism, the worship of Hindu god Vishnu. The education facilities in his hometown, Porbanda, were undeveloped, and so his record was on the whole mediocre. He went through a rebellious adolescent age marked by secret atheism, petty theft, furtive smoking, and most shocking of all, for someone born into Vaishnavism, meat eating. He got married at the age of 13, which made him to lose a year at school. His wife bore a child shortly after the death of his father, but the child only survived a few days. In 1887, Mohandas escaped through the matriculation examination of the University of Bombay, now University of Mumbai, and joined Samaldas College in Bhavnagar, as he had rather switched from his native language, Gujarati, to English. He found it rather difficult to follow the lectures. Left to himself, he would have loved to be a medical doctor, but couldn't go on with it because of Vaishnavism, prejudice against vivisection, and so it was clear that if he was to keep up the family tradition of holding high offices in one of the states in Gujarat, hurdles to cross, so the visit to England could be actualized. His father had left the family little family property, and his mother was not willing to expose her youngest child to the unknown temptation and dangers in a distant land. Due to Mohandas' determination to visit England, one of his brothers raised the necessary money, and his mother's doubts were allayed when he took a vow that while he was away, he would not touch wine, women, or meat. He disregarded his vow not to eat meat through his friend, who was brave enough to ask him to try some. After 3 years in England, Gandhi passed his exam and became qualified to practice law. He returned to India in the summer of 1891 to find that his mother had passed away while he was abroad. Gandhi worked in the High Court in Bombay, gaining experience and studying Indian law. In 1893, Gandhi was offered a contract from an Indian firm who were involved in a court case in South Africa. Gandhi jumped at the chance of a new experience and see a new country set off in April, leaving behind his wife and their 2 children. Gandhi and his wife had 2 more sons in South Africa, making it a total of 4 children, after which he took a vow of celibacy. Whilst in South Africa, Gandhi suffered many prejudices, such as being kicked out of first class on a train, despite having a ticket, and being asked to eat dinner in his room so as not to offend other hotel guests in the restaurant, all about his color. It was the year he spent in Pretoria that gave him a true knowledge in legal practice, and where he gained the confidence to be a successful lawyer. After winning the Indian company's case, Gandhi returned to Durban in Natal. There he assisted his fellow Indians in opposing a bill that denied them the right to vote. He continued his social activism, which helped the Indian community to unite as a political force. After spending 3 years in South Africa, he returned to India to pick up his wife and 2 sons, and then brought them back to live in Durban with him. On arrival to the port, Gandhi discovered that the white residents were not happy with him, and he was charged with 2 crimes: He was accused of taking part in the unmerited condemnation of Natal whites while he was in India and trying to swamp Natal with Indians by bringing over shiploads of passengers to achieve his aim. Both accusations were false to Gandhi. In 1990, after the Boer War, Gandhi and his friends formed an ambulance corps that carried the wounded on stretchers. After he relieved himself of war duties, Gandhi went back to India. He then went back to South Africa and set up an office, Johannesburg. He worked as an editor for the weekly newspaper Indian Opinion. Then in 1906, the British government declared war against the Zulus in Natal. Gandhi created the Indian Ambulance Corps again, working in front line, this time helping carry and nurse the innocent but wounded Zulu that had been shot by mistake by the British soldiers. While he was in South Africa, Gandhi's thought had led him to developing what was to be called Satyagraha. It translates roughly as insistence to truth and refers to non-violent protest and resistance. Gandhi went back to India in 1915 and joined the National Congress. He was now a strong public speaker and negotiator after a year of practice. The Indian laborers in Champaran asked him to help them as they were being suppressed, taxed, and were asked to grow crops mainly for their British landlords. Gandhi visited them and proposed Satyagraha, which resulted into a non-violent mass civil disobedience. He was arrested for creating unrest and was ordered to leave, but he refused. Hundreds of thousands of people protested and he was released. Gandhi led the protest against the landlords, who eventually signed an agreement offering more compensation to the tenant. After consulting with friends, Gandhi decided to open primary school in 6 villages. All the villages had to agree he provide boarding and lodging for their teachers. Gandhi then successfully appealed publicly for voluntary teachers. His next step was to improve the sanitary condition of the villages. For this, he borrowed doctors from other roles for a period of 6 months or so. In 1918, Gandhi led another campaign of Satyagraha in Kedah, which had been hit by floods. Many peasants there were facing famine and wanted relief from tax payment until the famine was over. In the end, after several months, the government agreed to the delayed payment of taxes. During the First World War, Gandhi agreed to actively recruit fellow Indians to help the war effort, despite not willing to injure or kill anybody himself. Around this time, Gandhi also tried to appeal to Indian Muslims and supported them in many of their causes. As a result, Gandhi became popular in both the Hindu and Muslim communities and was able to promote and instigate his form of peaceful resistance across India against the British rule. British troops killed many peaceful civilians with the intention to prevent a violent uprising, but it ended up only making Gandhi popular and the movement became stronger. He led the Congress to reorganize itself with a new constitution which would towards complete independence. Gandhi thought the removal of poverty would help establish independence. One way to achieve this would be to advocate the wearing of homespun clothes instead of British-made clothing materials. On New Year's Eve, December 31st, 1929, the Indian National Congress unfolded its flag of independence. Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru issued a Declaration of Independence on January 26, 1930. Gandhi planned to achieve stability through the secularization of India as the only way of uniting Hindu and Muslim in one peaceful nation. Gandhi campaigned to improve the lives of the untouchables, whom he called Harijans, the children of God. He promoted equitable rights, including the right to vote in the same electorate as other castes. In 1934, Gandhi survived 3 attempts on his life. In 1936, he briefly resigned from the party because his popularity was stifling the diversity of membership, ranging from communists and socialists to religious conservatives and pro-business groups. He returned to the head of the party with the Jawaharlal Nehru presidency. At the beginning of the Second World War, Gandhi declared that India could not be a party to this war unless it has independence. His quit Indian campaign led to mass arrest on unprecedented scale of struggle. He was arrested in Bombay and was held for 2 years. During this captivity, his wife passed away and his secretary also died. Gandhi was released in May of 1944 due to a necessary surgery. His campaign led a release of over 100,000 political prisoners before the end of the war. India won independence in 1947, followed by the Indo-Pakistani War of 1947 and the Partition of India. About 1 million people died in the bloody riot until petition was reluctantly accepted by Gandhi as the only way to stop the civil war. He urged the Congress party to accept petition and launch his last fast into dirt campaign in Delhi, calling for a stop to all violence. Gandhi also called to give Pakistan the 550,000 rupees in honor of the petition agreement. He tried to prevent instability and anger against India. Gandhi was shot 3 times in the chest and died while on his way to a prayer meeting. On January 30, 1948, his death went into mourning for 3 days and his assassins were convicted and executed a year later. The ashes of Mahatma Gandhi were split in portions and sent to all states of India to be scattered in rivers. Part of Gandhi's ashes rests in Rajghat near Delhi, India. Part of Mahatma Gandhi's ashes are at the Lake Shrine in Los Angeles.